Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct. Doc Ock at noon and 9. So you know what time it must be right now, because it definitely ain't 9. So it must be noon. Absolutely. Let me just bring this down just a little bit more. Yeah. I like it like that. I like it like that. All right. So today, proverb of today. Don't get in a pissing contest with a skunk. Now, that's an American proverb as far as I know. I don't think it's African American necessarily, but it does speak to the times. Don't get in a pissing contest with a skunk. Like I said, I don't explain them. I just present them. It's up to you to determine what you think they mean. American. Okay. And the story for today is a continuation of the story we started reading yesterday, which is Stagolee, baddest man in the whole damn land. Coming at you live and direct. Let's see where we left off at today. Yes. So Stagolee and the sheriff had a little encounter at the local bar, local establishment. After Stagolee had killed Billy Lyons, the sheriff wanted to bring him in. He wanted to arrest him. Stagolee thought otherwise. So they had a little encounter, and Stagolee got the best of him that time. So let's see what happened after that. After that, the new sheriff left Stagolee in peace, like he should have done to begin with. Stagolee lived on, and that was his big mistake. Because Stagolee lived so long, he started attracting attention up in heaven. One day, St. Peter was looking down on the earth, and he happened to notice Stack sitting on the porch picking on the guitar. Ain't that Stagolee, St. Peter said to himself. He took a closer look. That's him. Why, that nigga should have been dead a long time ago. So St. Peter went and looked it up in the record book, and sure enough, Stagolee was supposed to die 30 years before. St. Peter went to see the Lord. What's going on, St. Peter? Oh, ain't nothing shaking but bacon, Lord. Well, that's not totally true. I was just checking out Earth, and there's a nigga down there named Stagolee who is way overdue for a visit from death. Is that so? It's the gospel truth, Lord. Well, we have to do something about that. The Lord cleared his throat a couple of times and hollered out, "Hey, death! Hey, death!" Now, Death was laying down in the barn, catching up on some sleep because he was tired. Having to make so many trips all around the world trying to deal with that COVID-19 was wearing him out, not to mention everywhere else in the world. He just couldn't understand why dying couldn't be systematized. He tried his best to convince God either to get a system to dying or get him some assistance. He'd proposed that, say, on Mondays, the only dying that would be done would be, say, in France, Germany, and a few other small European countries. Tuesday, it'd be some other countries. And on like that. That way, he wouldn't have to be running all over the world 24 hours a day. But the Lord had vetoed the idea, set aside to him like Death just wanted an excuse to eventually computerize the whole operation. Death had to admit that the thought had crossed his mind. He didn't know when he was going to catch up on all that paperwork he had to do. A computer would solve everything. Everybody knows that makes life easier if you got everything computerized. And now, just when he was getting to sleep, here come the Lord waking him up. So Death got on his pale white horse. He was so tired of riding the horse, he didn't know what to do. He talked to God a few months ago about letting him get a helicopter or something. But then somebody had an accident in the helicopter and he decided maybe that wasn't such a good idea. So Death rode on off down through the streets of heaven, and when folks heard him coming, they closed the doors, because even in heaven, folks were afraid of death. And that was the other thing. Death was mighty lonely. Didn't nobody talk to him, and he was getting a little tired of it. He wished the Lord would at least let him wear a suit and tie and look respectable. Maybe then he could meet some nice young angel and settle down, raise a family. The Lord had vetoed that idea too. What took you so long, Death? Lord, I was trying to get some sleep. Yeah, you just don't realize how fast folks are dying these days. Don't tell me you're going to start complaining about that again. I'm sorry, Lord, but I'd like to see you handle the job as well as I do with no help. No sleep, no wife, no nothing. Well, I got a special job for you today. Can't wait till tomorrow? No, it can't wait, Death. Now, hush up. There's a man down in Fatback, Georgia, named Stagolee. You should have picked him up 30 years ago, and I want you to send me a memo on why you didn't. Well, I got such a backlog of work piled up. I don't have to be doing your job for you. You get the list every day from the Record Bureau. How come you missed this one? If he's escaped for 30 years, who knows who else has been living way past their time. Speaking of folks having lived past their time, St. Peter, have the librarian bring me all the files on white folks. Seems to me that white folks sure done outlived their time. Anyway, Death, go down there and get Stagolee. Go down there and get Stagolee. Go down there and get Stagolee. Where was I at? Death headed on down to Earth. A long time ago, he used to enjoy the ride, but not anymore. There were so many satellites and other pieces of junk flying around through the air that it was like going through a junkyard barefooted. So he didn't waste any time getting on down to Fatback, Georgia. Now, on this particular day, Stagolee was sitting on the porch, picking the blues on the guitar and drinking. All of a sudden, he looked up and saw this pale-looking white cat in this white sheet come riding up to his house on a white horse. We ain't never had no clan in the daytime before, Stagolee said. Death got off his horse, pulled out his address book and said, I'm looking for Stagolee, Booker T. Washington, Nicodemus, Shadrach, Nat Turner Jones. Hey, baby, you got it down pat. I'd forgotten a couple of them names myself. Are you Stagolee, Booker T. Wash? You ain't got to go through the thing again. I'm the dude. What's going on? I'm Death. Come with me. Stagolee started laughing. You who? I'm Death. Come on, man. I ain't got all day to be piddling around over here, talking all this yippy-dippy stuff. Be serious. Death looked at Stagolee. No one had ever accused him of joking before. I am serious. It's your time to die. Now, come on here. Man, you ain't bad enough to mess with me. Death blinked his eyes. He'd never run up on a situation like this before. Sometimes folks struggle a little bit, but they didn't just outright refuse. Stagolee, let's go. Death said in his baddest voice. Man, you must want to get shot. Death thought that one over for a minute. Now, he didn't know how to handle this situation. As he reached in his saddlebags and pulled out his death manual and started looking through it, he looked up resistance and read what it said, but wasn't a thing in there about what to do when somebody threatens to shoot you. Then he looked up guns, but that wasn't listed. He looked under everything he could think of. He cross-referenced it and everything, but nothing was of any help. So he went back to the porch. You coming or not, Stagolee? Stagolee let one of them 44 bullets whistle past old Death's ear, and Death got hot. Death didn't waste no time getting up out of there. Before he was sitting in the saddle good, he had made it back to heaven. Lord, you must be trying to get me killed up in there. Do what? Get you killed? Since when could you die? Don't matter. But that man Stagolee you just sent me after took a shot at me. Now listen here, Lord. If you want that man dead, you better go get him your damn self. Respectfully, I'm not going back after him. I knew there was some reason I let him live 30 years too long. I'd heard about him on the grapevine. For all I care, he can live 300 more years. I am not going back. Okay. All right, fine. You made your point. Go on back to sleep. After Death had gone, God turned to St. Peter and asked, we haven't had any new applications for that job recently, have we? You must be joking. Well, I was just checking. The Lord lit a cigar. Pete, looks like I'm going to have to use one of my giant Death thunderbolts to get that Stagolee. Look that way, Lord. You want me to tell the work crew? Lord nodded. St. Peter left. It took 3,412 angels, 14 days, 11 hours, and 32 minutes to carry the giant Death thunderbolt to the Lord. But he just reached down and picked it up like it was a toothpick. St. Peter, can you spell Stagolee for me? Stagolee, Stagolee. So St. Peter spelled it out for him, and the Lord wrote it on the thunderbolt. Then he blew away a few clouds and put his keen eye down on the earth. Hey, St. Peter, will you look at all that killing down there? I ain't never seen nothing like that. What is that? That's Minneapolis, Lord. Lord, that ain't Georgia. The Lord put his great eye across the world. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Look at all that sin down there. Women wearing hardly no clothes at all. Check that one out with the black hair. And what's she doing now? What? Twerking? The hell is that? Never heard of nothing like that before. Look at her. Disgraceful. Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. Lord have mercy, Jesus. And the Lord put his eye on the earth and went on across the USA, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, turned right at the Mississippi River, Lord. Lord turned right and went on down into Tennessee. Take a left at Memphis, Lord. Lord turned left in Memphis and went on up through Nashville and on down to Chattanooga, into Georgia, Atlanta, GA, Valdosta, Rolling Stone, Macon, Georgia, all the way down past Stone Mountain until he got way back out in the woods to Fatback, Georgia. He let his eye go up and down the country roads until he saw Stagolee sitting on the porch. That's him, Lord. That's him. And great God Almighty, the God of Nat Turner and Rap Brown, the God of Muddy Waters and B.B. King, the God of Aretha Franklin and the Impressions, this great God Almighty, everlasting, et intera, Pax, Hominibus, and all them other good things drew back his mighty arm. Watch your aim now, Lord, and unloose the giant thunderbolt. Boom! I'm sorry, we run out of time today. Looks like we're going to have to continue this story because, we still got a few more pages to go in the story of Stagolee. But I hope you enjoyed that segment. Yeah, it was enjoyable to me. It was a pretty good ride while it lasted. We'll come back to that. Meanwhile, you all know what to do. If you're on the tube, subscribe below. If you're on FB, otherwise known as Facebook, go ahead and give me a like. Then give us a share. Show everybody that you care. Don't just sit there starting to stare. Now, we're going to have some other things we're going to do up in here because we're going to have to speak to some of the times that's going on right now today, especially in Minneapolis. We'll have a special announcement on that coming right up. Meanwhile, we'll see you back here tonight, 9 o'clock, because this is Doc Ock at noon. That's high noon and 9. That'll be real fine. Peace out.